All right, welcome back. Today we are doing section 3-5. This is covering two-step equations. Basically, we're putting together what we have already done into equations, more of the type that you'll be dealing with in pre-algebra and algebra. All right, so for instance, we have 2x plus 12 equals 4. When you solve these, just like before, we still want to get the variable alone. Okay, he's very prideful. He likes it all to himself, which means this is kind of tangled up. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that 12 first. To get rid of the 12, we have to add the opposite, and the opposite would be, or the inverse operation, instead of adding, would be subtracting or plus a negative, whichever you would prefer to say. All right, we have then created a zero pair, and we cross it out, bringing down the 2x that is left. And we have 4 and a negative 12. We know these are different. We know we're going to be subtracting then because they're different signs. This one's the bigger one, so we know our answer has to be negative. And then 12 minus 4 is 8. All right, so that is our first step. Now, again, we want to get x alone. We have to get 2 to the other side. And to do that, we have to do the inverse operation. This says 2 times x, so the opposite is to divide by that 2. There's that cross out, right? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And then that leaves us with x equals 8 divided by 2 is 4. And that negative comes along, okay, because the negative tends to pull us down. This is what is known as a two-step equation. All right, so the next thing, let's try another one. We're going to try this one here with some fractions in it. So m divided by 2 plus 6 equals 10. Okay, again, we want m to be alone. These are kind of tangled up, so we're going to move that 6 first. Okay, we're going to do the inverse operation. So the inverse of adding is subtracting. Okay, when we do that, we are left with, okay, so we get to cross that off, so we know that we've followed the correct steps. We have m over 2 equals, and then this is just 10 take away 6, which is a positive 4. Now, this says m divided by 2. We know we want to get m alone. We know we need to get the 2 to the other side, but to get rid of a 2 in the denominator, we're going to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. And you can do times 2 over 1 or just times 2. When you do that, they cancel out, leaving you with an m equals, and 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so same steps, just we had the multiplication, the division, the fraction, I should say, I'm sorry. Alrighty. Sometimes, though, we might have something a little bit different where we have to simplify first, such as this problem. 7x minus 10x equals 15. In this problem, I need to simplify these first because these are like terms. Since they are like terms, they can go together. I can change that minus into plus a negative if you need to. These both are x terms, so I'm going to combine these two terms into one term. So I'm going to combine them so that there's an x, and it's still going to equal to that 15. Now, This is a positive and this is negative. So again, these are different. Because they're different, we know we're going to subtract. The bigger one is negative, so we know our answer has to be a negative, and we can go ahead and do that right away. So 10 minus 7 is 3. Okay. Now that we have simplified, we can get the x alone by bringing the 3 to the other side. We're going to do the inverse operation. This says 3 times x, so the opposite will be to divide. Now, some students are struggling here. They do divide by the 3 without any issues, but that negative is attached to that 3. We don't want to have a negative x, so that negative is going to stay with the 3. So make sure you're dividing both sides by that negative. That way, negative 3 divided by negative 3 goes away because that's 1. That leaves us with a positive x equals 15 divided by 3 is 5. And remember, that negative always pulls us down. That's why you don't want to have those friends that are not uplifting and believers, because they will pull you down if you're not careful. Alrighty? So that's another type you could have. So sometimes you need to simplify before you solve. And here is one more type of problem that you could see. 3 times the quantity, x minus 4 equals 9. Now, before I can start solving this, I'm going to need to do the distributive property. Please remember, you have to distribute that 3 to both pieces. So we're going to have the 3 times the x, keep the sign, and then 3 times the 4. So first we're going to need to simplify this. This gives us 3x minus 12, still equal to that 9 that we started off with. But now we have one of the two-step problems that we're able to solve. I want to get x alone. I need to move that negative 12 or minus 12 to the other side. To do that, we have to do the inverse operation. The inverse of a minus is going to be a plus. So we're going to add 12 to both sides. When I do that, I form a zero pair. Plus 12 minus 12 goes away, leaving us with the 3x equals, and then 9 plus 12, which is 21. Again, we want x alone. We need to bring 3 to the other side. And so we're going to do the inverse operation. The inverse of 3 times x is we're going to divide by that 3. When we do that, the 3 divided by 3 goes away, leaves us with 1, or just x, equals 21 divided by 3, which is 7. Right? That is about as hard as we go. We might have a few other things that we could add together, simplify, but this is about all the pieces that we could use. All right, now your challenge. So please take a piece of paper out and do this challenge problem and bring it in with you to class. You are going to solve 4t minus 7 equals negative 15. Okay, please make sure that you are following the steps that are required and bring this in the next day with your name on it. Thank you very much. Bye.